and I'm now recording as well. So great news.
All right,
I
we'll
love this.
see if
It says dropped frames, 8,000. Sorry, 1,886, or 18% of the total time we've been running.
okay.
I think
That is
I think it was probably it dropping frames the moment I hit go live, and then like it's fine now. Yeah, 1886. It's stuck there, so we haven't dropped any frames since. So we're good.
nice. Isn't that like the Order 1886? Wasn't that a game?
Um,
I think it was. I think it was on the PlayStation.
yeah, that was that
It
game
was like
that
about like this order of like steampunk knights that like fought werewolves or something.
yeah, like a
I don't know.
secret organization. Um,
Yeah.
oh, I love VLC media players. Like,
Oh,
hey, you want to know what's playing? This is
honestly,
what's playing.
ho- honestly, that's actually kind of cool. Because then yeah, like people tuning into the stream can do it. Okay, let me let everybody in the server know.
Order 1886 was the one that was like, this is a 6-hour campaign that gamers were mad. They were charging $30 or $60 for. That's the legacy of that game, if I remember correctly.
So it's a game that's game devs tend to look upon it a lot more fondly
Yeah.
than game players. There's a lot of detail, like the texture work in that game is like amazing. I remember very early on they do this narrative interlude with a like an old-timey newspaper, and like they get the kerning right,
Oh my
Isaiah. They
god.
get kerning right on like in like an old-timey newspaper, right? Like and like that's the level of detail I live for, right?
By the way, folks in chat are gonna have to let me know how the levels are, because we're doing a new setup, and I actually can't hear the music. Only you can. So, you know, if it's too loud, too quiet, if Neil is too loud, too quiet, if I'm too loud, too quiet, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely let us know.
Although you should pick one of us to base the volumes of the other two around. So
you gotta have a control group, right?
yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so hello everyone. Okay, so music is not coming through. Okay, so but music is coming through for MythAtelier.
Well,
Oh, I
we'll
mean,
figure it out.
okay, yeah. So I think Isaiah, you're coming a little bit low. So is there any way that you can boost gain on your end?
Honestly, I'll just fucking get closer to the microphone. I'll just lean
Oh,
forward.
Isaiah ASMR time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's still it's a volume thing, right? So below a certain threshold. Hey, Yoshi's joining us. Yoshi on the server.
Heck yeah.
And thank you so much for coming. Yeah. Okay, so welcome everyone. We're gonna wait for like a minute or so for more people to file in, but it does look like we have a crowd. Um, and I will take this time to reveal to you that we have lied to you. We have pulled a trick. We we are doing an illusion, right? Um, so Isaiah and I went over the sprite set like class, right? And we took a look at like all the topics that we wanted to cover, and we realized that this is going to be pretty hard to cover live, right? And in a way that will be interesting to folks. So the sprite set stuff, we'll probably going to do a pre-recorded video for that, so that the content is out there, so that we can kind of build on top of it. So sorry about that. If folks were in here to learn about sprite stuff, we will be covering that on a later dev stream. But today, we wanted to cover a topic that we saw mentioned on the server that I think all of you are going to be pretty interested in. Isaiah, what are we covering today?
Yeah, we're covering regex. We're covering string parsing, and we're covering note tags.
Yeah, so for those of you who have been interested in how plugins work and especially how node tags work, we're going to look behind the curtain, and we're actually going to set you up to write your own plugins so that they can process node tags. So, I mean, in that case, okay, yeah, we're getting a surprise reaction from Mather after. Yeah,
we love to see it.
Okay, Ecilla saying no tags. Okay, all right. So I think we picked well. We picked well, right? All right. So in that case, Isaiah, what is a string?
Oh man, great question. Let me make a new file to sort of help facilitate this. So we've covered in the past. We've covered how variables work, where you can have var variable name, and we can say that equals 4, and that's a number. You all know what numbers are. I'm going to introduce you to the wild concept of letters. Here, I'll call it string name, and if you were to just type hello, the game would JavaScript can't understand this. It thinks hello is the name of an object that I haven't declared. So if I say var hello equals 4, then it would understand hello is the name of a variable that contains the letter 4. However, all you got to do, oh no, I hit the insert key. All you got to do is wrap this guy around some quotes, and now we know that this is a string which contains the text hello. And if you were to say, okay, variable name plus string name, the result for that, well, you can't really add 4 to hello, right? Like, that's not if I say hello and you say, okay, add 4 to that, I might say hello 4 times, maybe. So what JavaScript does is JavaScript says, okay, we can't convert this string to a number, but we can convert the number to a string. So it goes, okay, 4, more like 4. So 4 plus hello. Well, that's simple. That's 4 hello. And so that will be what you get if you try to add these two things. And so something that beginners to the world of strings will often run into is they'll say, okay, var string 1 will say, how are you? And then, they'll say, my name is, right? And then var name will be like, in my case, my name is Isaiah, right? Everybody here is generally on board with that. And if they were to say, okay, string 1 plus name, actually let's go to RPG Maker and let's type this into the console so that we can see this happen. So I'll open up the console and I'll say, okay, var string 1 equals my name is, var string 2 equals Isaiah, right? So if I say string 1 plus string 2, my name is Isaiah, but is Isaiah, well, first of all,
You need like a little white space. You need a little white space before.
Exactly. Yeah. Is Isaiah is not the worst way I've ever seen people spell my name, but what you actually need, string 1 currently is my name is, you might want to say string 1 equals my name is, and then add a space before you close it. So now if I say string 1 plus string 2, my name is Isaiah with a space between. Something else you might say is, if I get rid of this space, you might say string 1 plus, and then just a space, and then plus string 2. And now you get my name is Isaiah. So there are a lot of ways to say that my name is Isaiah.
So those of you who are looking to get into like computer science stuff, right? This is what is called concatenation, right? Which is when you essentially add the strings together. Mm-hmm. A lot of operations happen via concatenation, right? Where like you have strings from different places, and you may have seen like in video games, right, where like they compose like a bit of dialogue that somebody has done by like adding a bunch of different strings together. The most common example of this is that the string variable will be the place of the player name, right? So they just sub in the player name, right, as a variable in that like line of text. Right. The other aspect is, so concatenation is adding strings together. You can also take like one long string and like take like a word out of it, or like a particular part of it out of it, and that's called a substring. There's a lot of substring manipulation that happens, right? That allows us to do some very cool things. Now, the reason that I'm mentioning concatenation and like doing substrings, right, or like splitting a string, is, Isaiah, now that we know what a string is, what is parsing?
Right. So parsing is essentially the means by which you search a string for a smaller string to see if it contains that smaller string, and then do something if you find it. That introduces us to I would say a data type. Yeah, it's a data type that is closely related to the string and far less well known than the string, and that's a regular expression. So for this, we're gonna need to go into code, like into JavaScript, and so we've got, okay, name is Isaiah, and we might say something we could do if we wanted, because and I'll show you string 2. We know that's Isaiah, but if we were to do string 2 index 0, then that would be the letter I, and that's because strings are technically arrays of letters. So I can say string
in
2.
other languages, this is known as a car, right? So it is actually a data type, right? So for example, in C, right, the weird little thing that they do is that they have oh no, I'll get into pointers if I mention that. Essentially, cars are like the smallest kind of unit, right? And then you kind of compose them together, right, to create like words, right, such as the string.
Now, if you don't know what a regular expression is, or you don't know what parsing is, then if I were to ask you, find the place in my name that contains the letter A, I might say, okay, so for var I equals 0, I is less than name dot length, and I can do that because strings are arrays, so they have a length property, and then I can say I plus plus. Actually, let me make sure. String 2 dot length. Yeah, it totally does have a length property. Okay, cool. I wasn't just making that assumption. So then I could say, okay, var letter equals name I, if letter equals A, then, return I, and that would be returning the index, right? But strings and equals are weird sort of on their own. If I were to say, so string 2 is Isaiah. If I were to say, we have a variable at the top. No, I'll say var num equals 4. And if I were to say num equals 4, that would be true. But if I were able to say string 2 equals Isaiah, that would also be true. So you're expecting this behavior. But if I say num equals 4, that's true. And if I say string 2 equals Isaiah, oops. Okay, I thought that would be false because
No,
I've been told.
So
I've been told to always do. Oh, is this a C# thing and not a JavaScript thing?
So the triple equals is absolutely a JavaScript thing.
Okay,
right?
okay.
But newer versions of JavaScript are nicer about
that's
the string
good to know.
matching stuff.
All right, ignore this bit
so-
then.
So I before we go, I think this is pretty important. So folks in chat, you will run into equals, and equals.
Mm-hmm.
These are 3 different operators. Isaiah, do you know the difference between
Absolutely.
these 3?
So the basic Most programmers, most languages will do this, where a single equals is an assigner. So var1 equals 4. That means that if I were to ask what does var1 contain, the console would output 4, right? But if I say var1 equals 4, then I am asking the console a question. Does it equal 4? And so the console will either tell me true, so yes, it does equal 4, or false, no, it actually equals to something else, like let's say 4.1, right? But if I were to say var equals 4, then I'm asking, does it equal 4, but also, does it equal the exact data type of 4? So like, as an example here, so we've got num. We know that num is 4 because we set it. We can say num equals 4. That's true. But if I were to say, is num equal to 4 as a string, it does return true. And that's because 4 equals 4. Cool, checks out. But those are two different data types. One is a number, one is a string. So if I were to say 4 equals 4, that's when we get false. And so the difference between double equals and triple equals is very useful for determining, do these have the same value when cast a certain way? If I were to turn this string into a number, would it contain the number 4? Sure. But triple...
Let's actually try that.
Yeah. So if I were to say 4 equals number 4, string 4. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking the string that contains the letter 4, and I'm turning it into a number, and then I'm checking if it's equal to 4, and we get true. And so...
Yeah. So you will see this sometimes is, this is what is called casting, right? Mm-hmm. It is taking it can be for an object, but in this case, it's a literal, right? That's the name of the thing. The small element.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So you will see like number and then brackets, and then it'll be in there, or string and then brackets, and there'll be an element in there. And that's the goal, right? Is to make sure that it is of the matching data type, right? That we are able to do something with, right? JavaScript is a little bit weird in that it has types, but also is big on not caring about the types.
Yeah.
One of the examples of this is, Isaiah, if you would demonstrate a JavaScript array that contains 4, the string 4, right, and then like 4, like 4.0, right, as a thing, right? And in other languages, this would be a different thing. So,
yes.
Isaiah, if you would, like,
R equals 4. Sorry, I need 4.
Yeah, within the thing.
And 4 and 4.0. That's an array that is allowed. Sorry, I should say the last one is 4.1.
4.1, right? Which you can set. So what did we do there, right? So we created an array and we put 3 elements into the array. One of it, which is a number, the other one is a string, and the other one is another value type that is either a float or a double, just depending on the level of precision that you want. Most programming languages would balk at this. They would be like, absolutely not. We're not doing multi-type arrays. What the hell are you talking about, right? JavaScript does not care, right? You can put anything into an array, right? And that makes it useful, but also pretty dangerous, right? Because when you're moving through an array and you're applying an operation onto each element, right? You can sometimes run into like, I'm going to two upper, right, a float. What does that even mean, right?
Yeah. It also means,
right?
Because JavaScript is not picky with its data types, you can do things like 4 plus 4. And if I were to hit enter, what do we think we would get? Well, if you guessed 44, you're correct.
Which is so dumb.
And I believe if I do 4 plus 4...
That's the language we're working with.
Yeah. So the order doesn't matter in the case of strings and numbers. And this is sometimes a problem. Some plugins you'll run into this because a a lot of plugin parameters. Well, okay, all plugin parameters are strings. Even if they say they're numbers, they're actually strings. And so a lot of people will they'll store the plugin parameter in a variable, but they won't cast that variable to a number. And so they'll try and do math between like a static number and a string which contains a number, and it'll concatenate them instead of adding them like you should do. I accidentally typed 3, but you get the vibe. So a lot of plugins, and actually we might as well open
Actually, we can we can just show like a CGC plugin and show like the opening section of it.
So EXP multiplier, we've got control variables a ID. I think this is an older version of multiplier. Yeah, this is Isaiah EXP multiplier, so this is a much older version. But you'll notice that I cast the parameter to a number every time. Every time that it is a number. And if I didn't cast it to a number, then we could run into issues where if I try to add this number to another number, then we would get, a number that is twice the size that it should be. And so a lot of plugins will miss this number casting. And because JavaScript knows how to turn a string into a number when necessary, it's okay to do that sometimes. But especially if you're a plugin developer, you don't always know how people are going to be using your plugins. So the safer thing is always to parse your strings to numbers whenever possible.
So speaking of which, let's head back to the parser that we were going to write.
Yes. So
before we continue with this, chat, do you have any questions about what we've covered so far? So far we've talked about strings, right? We've talked about concatenation. We've talked about substrings, right? We've talked about data types, right? The difference between an assignment operator, a Boolean operator, or is it a Boolean equals? Is that what a equals is called?
I believe it's a comparison operator.
Comparison operator, yeah, that's correct. And then the triple equals, right, which checks not only if it matches the number but also matches the type. So this may have seemed like an aside. And the last thing that we covered is casting, right? This last part is very important, right? Because as Isaiah expressed, right, if you don't have things of the right data types adding together, JavaScript doesn't care. Yeah, other languages will throw you a warning and be like, "Yo, you sure you want to do that?" Right? JavaScript's like, "Yeah, cool. It's a string now." Right? So you will have to be very careful, right, as we move on. Okay. MythAtelier asks a really good question. Yeah, go ahead, Isaiah.
MythAtelier asked, "What is a Boolean?" And I'm going to go over it quickly. A Boolean is a value of either true or false. Those are the only two values that it can contain. If you try and cast a Boolean to a variable, to a number, if I were to say number bool, then that would return 1 because true is 1. If I were to cast bool 2, it would return 0 because false is 0. So you can think of it like a number that could only be either 0 or 1. If I were to say if string 1 equals hello, then that returns a Boolean insofar as it returns either true or false. And if it returns true, then it executes the code underneath, and if it returns false, then it skips the code underneath. But another thing that I could do is I could say if bool, because bool also returns a Boolean, and that's the value of bool. So if bool is true, then we execute the code. And if I were to say if bool 2, then we wouldn't execute the code because bool 2 is false. So I hope that
Good
that's
question.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one more thing that we're going to introduce before we get into scary territory, by which I mean we're introducing the scary territory now. And that's, so we've covered strings. Now we're going to cover regex name equals hello.
Isaiah, please spare them. Please spare them. right? The reason I say that is let the show like a standard like the iterator parsing, right? Just show that in the console first, so that we know that like that's the operation that we're doing before we get into the scary stuff.
Sorry. What do
Would
you
that
want
be
me to
okay?
show here?
So the for loop, right,
Okay.
that we made to detect the thing, just show it in operation, right?
Okay. Yeah, so I'll say var name equals Isaiah. And oh, I didn't put it in a string.
That might need to be a string. That might need to be in a string. Yeah.
Damn. And so if I execute this code, yeah, it doesn't like the return statement. But I could say console.log I.
There's another. Oh no, wait, no, it just flipped back to the old version.
Very silly. I enjoy the console. Yes, so it
Hey, 3.
says 3 because A is the third index, or is at index 3 within my name. So this works, right? Like you can go through the string in a for loop and check if it contains the letter. But what if I want to check 2 letters, right? Well, I could go, okay, if so the string we're searching for is search for equals AH, right? Which is the last 2 letters of my name. So I could say if A equals let's say search for 0, then we do another for loop where we then check for search for 1. And that's not great, right? Like, you don't want to put a for loop inside another for loop just to look for 2 letters. And especially if I want to check for name is, right? Say we're searching string 1 instead of string 2. That's a lot of letters. You'd have to write the entire like for loop, or maybe write some really complex function. And you know, that's a lot of work. So maybe instead what we do is we say, okay, instead of, actually I'm not going to delete this because I think it's still useful to keep the
Yeah, we'll comment it, right? And
yeah.
So I think any new sections just add on to.
Yeah. So I'll say var statement equals my name is Isaiah, and I'll put a little period at the end, and it's nice. Now we're looking for the name Isaiah, and we want to ask, does
Isaiah, please set that.
Oh my god! Sorry, I'm just so eager to write my name. I forget the quotations.
Isaiah, you will want to use an assignment operator to assign the string.
I'm so
to name.
eager to write my own name that I forget the equals sign. So the question we want to ask, does the variable statement, I shouldn't put that in quotes, contain the variable name? AKA, does the statement say my name? Now, you know, we could write the for loop and then put a nested for loop and all that stuff. Or we could say statement dot contains, that's not right. Statement dot match name. Cool. Let's check out these things. Let's put these where we've said var statement and var name. Now let's say statement dot match name, and we get some very interesting results here. We have an array of information. Sorry, not an array. We have an object of information, which where 0 is Isaiah. There's groups of undefined index 11. If I had to guess, I would say index is 11 is like, this is the 11th. The I is at index 11. That's where it starts. And whenever you call a dot match function, the results get stored in a global variable called regexp. Regexp. Different people will pronounce this word differently. Some people just say regex, they just omit the P, but you actually have to type the P. So if I were to say regex dot $1, hold on. Oh, I know why it doesn't say $1. Because this isn't a regular expression. This is a string. So
Not yet. Yeah,
not,
not yet.
not yet. So what I can say is if statement, for now, I could say if statement dot match name console dot log true. And it does log true because what the object or what the function returns is an object with a bunch of different information, but an object evaluates to true if we check to see if it exists, which means that the if statement does work. I can say.
So another simple way to do this is using includes. Would that work in this case? Or
yeah, absolutely.
do you have to use?
Since arrays in JavaScript use the includes function, and strings are arrays, we can say statement dot includes name, and we do get true.
And that's just a quick way of checking whether the substring, right, is within the larger string, right? You can use includes for like a bunch of other stuff. We use it all the time for skill IDs, for instance, right, and skill names. But then match is the more formal way of getting it because, as Isaiah will get into, right, you get like a data, like an object of data that you can use to do operations on.
Yeah, and we even know where the match is.
Which is super neat. I didn't know it was that detailed.
So what happens if we turn this string into a regular expression, or a regex as they call it? There's a very simple way of doing that. I can say generally it's good practice to put like I or M or G, and we'll get into what those mean in a moment. If I were to say var statement, my name is Isaiah, name equals regular expression Isaiah, and I were to say if statement match name, everything would be exactly the same with one big exception. And that's because this is not a string. This is a regular expression, which means that it knows how to look through this in a different way from how it would look through a string. And because we have this little I at the end, I is a command that when you look through the string, you do not care about case sensitivity. So, instead of Isaiah capital I, we could say Isaiah all caps because I'm proud of my name or some shit. Something like that. And this would still return true because I've included the instruction, make this case insensitive. And that means that, Isaiah also would return true. And that might be less useful if your name is, for example, Will, because Will is also a word, so we want to know if it's capitalized, so we can omit that little I at the end. And now we can guarantee that whenever you find an instance of the name, it'll only return true if the name is capitalized correctly. But if we want to do, for example, note tags, like let's say we've got var data item note tag info. It's a very normal it's a very normal variable name, and it contains a bunch of information, random letters, and it also contains note tag. It contains the note tag a note tag. I don't have a better example than this. And I were to say var note equals regular expression note tag. And we want the I here. So this is really useful for us because no matter how they write the note tag, we say, here, let me put this all here. I know how to spell my name. If we were to say if data item note tag info dot match note, this would return true. And this would return true. Except that it wouldn't because I couldn't spell. Go ahead.
Why don't we take it for a spin? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's put these into the console and then see if you're able to do the match.
So we've got these two variables defined, and let's add a little bit at the end here, just to make sure that we know it's not just checking the end of the string for something. And we can say data item note tag info dot match note, and it will return. Here's the string we found. It is all caps, just like it was in the original string. Here's the string that we checked. Here's what index we found. And then here's the groups. I wonder what those groups are. I wonder if that's going to be the next thing that we
Yeah, it might be what we covered. So going back to chat, right? So what we've done here, right, is we have taken the previous operation where Isaiah was trying to find his name within a sentence, right? And we are looking for something that looks vaguely like note tag, right? In random garbage like gobbledygook, right? If you think back to how you set up that skill note tag, for instance, right? You can write all kinds of things in there. You can have like comments about like, hey, I want this animation right in there. I want this, I want like this character to be doing this, right? You can have other note tags, right, from other plugins in there. And we still need to be able to tell within that like big block of text what note tag we care about, right? And this is how we do it, right? We look through all of that text. We look for something with regular expression that is matching what we are looking for, right? And once we have found it, right, we can do operations from there, such as Isaiah.
Yeah. So we're very close to entering hell. We're not there yet, but we're close. So get very excited because the next thing we're gonna check is, and I will make it extra code. What if we don't just want a note tag? What if we want a number, like, 1 or something like that? So we want to make sure that note tag 1 is present. And maybe we want another number, note tag 2. And maybe we want another number, note tag 3, and so on. And we could do if it matches note 1, if it matches note 2, if it matches note 3, etc., etc. Just a bunch of if statements right next to each other. But what if I don't know what number we're looking for? Like, what if I've got a note tag that's like, oh, set the X offset of a sprite, right? So it's any number from 0 to 1 million theoretically. If they want to set the X offset, it won't be on screen, but that still might be valuable, right?
So Ecilla asked a pretty good question in chat. What if there's two note tags, two of the same, right? Like if two plugins are using the same note tags, what happens?
That's a great question. And the answer is usually the two plugins using the same note tag, they will both find the same note tag and do their own thing with that note tag. Which is why most plugin developers are very deliberate about the way that they name note tags. Like, what you'll see in our card game plugins is that we pretty much always have the word card in there in our note tags, because even if the note tags we're using don't directly relate to cards in some way, like you're configuring something that doesn't necessarily involve cards, but it involves the card engine, that is how we can say the likelihood of somebody else using a note tag of the exact same name, the exact same syntax, is very small. So the likelihood of another plugin finding this note tag without deliberately looking for it, like somebody else could write a plugin that extends our plugin and therefore searches for the same note tags, but because it's an extension of our plugin, that's on purpose. It is making sure that what it does with those note tags are the same thing, or maybe a slightly better version of the thing that we're doing with our note tags. Yes, so it generally, it won't complicate things if the note tags are the same, except in cases where if I have a note tag that's like, I don't know, cool value. Oh, geez, that needs to be a string. Cool value, right? If I have a cool value and then your plugin has a cool value, but our cool values do different things, then we can run into some problems. Which is why I might do something like, since I'm making it for MythAtelier, I might say myth cool value. And you're not going to make your note tag say myth cool value because you're not making a plugin for MythAtelier necessarily. So I hope that answers your question. So
thanks for the clarification. So coming back to this, right?
Yeah. So if I want note tag and then an arbitrary number, something that I couldn't possibly do with strings is be like, okay, if there's a note tag and then inside that note tag contains a number, I might have to split the string apart or find the index of the number and do some shenanigans. But instead of checking against, every number that exists, I can say parentheses /d plus close parentheses. Now I don't need note 1, note 2. And if I were to say, I'll put this in the console, and then I say data item note tag info dot match note, then that's very interesting. So we had an array 0 which contained note tag. Now we have an array which contains note tag 1 because that's the string that we found, and then we found at index 1 we have just the number 1. But what if I were to change data item note tag info to say note tag 17893, right? And then I were to do the same thing. Well, it's still able to find 17893. So maybe I'd say, okay, cool, I'll do this and then I'll index of 1, right? Cool, and then I get the value. Or maybe I can do RegEx dot $1. And RegEx is a variable, is an object that contains the most recently, it contains all of this info. And $1 is the data member that contains the first capturing group. Now, what is a capturing group? Well, I put these parentheses in here earlier. Those are the difference between just checking to make sure it exists and actually checking what the value is. So if I got rid of the parentheses, if I did down here, sorry, this guy, if I got rid of the parentheses and then I did match note, then yeah, it would return the value because it's /d is an instruction to look for a digit. That's what the D stands for. And then plus is an instruction to look for one or more of the last thing that we just looked for. So we found a digit. That's good. Did we find one or more? And we found 1, so we're all good. So we do find note tag 1, but we don't actually know what the value was because we weren't capturing it. But as soon as we add those parentheses, that is instructions for the regex to say, okay, cool, I found it and I'm storing what that is in a variable, and that variable is $1. And so that's how you're able to say, okay, we've got a note tag, and in that note tag the user is able to specify something, and that's great. So code that I might write is, if this matches, then I'd say var num equals regex dot 1, right? And because we captured this value, now I've got a number in here. But it's not a number It's a string that contains a number. So what do we do with strings that contain numbers when we want them to be numbers? We cast them to numbers.
I want chat to. Okay.
Sorry, I spoiled it. No.
No. Okay. All right. No, it's fine. We'll come up with the chat challenge in a little bit.
Now, in the past, I have not cast my note tags to numbers, and it has worked until it stopped working. So always make sure, if what you want is a number and what you currently have is a string, cast it to a number as soon as possible. You will years from now, you will be like, man, doing all of that was a waste of time because my code didn't generate any crashes. You're welcome. These preventative measures seem unnecessary because they're preventing the very thing that you would have noticed that denoted that you required them in the first place. Anyway, so now you're asking, cool, that's great. I can put a number in my note tag and then I can find out what the number is. But can I do it with two numbers? Da 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 da. Yes, you can. You just need a second instruction to capture a group, and then you can say var num2 equals number casted to number regexp dot 2 $2. Whenever you have a capturing group in a regular expression, the first capturing group will be in $1, the second capturing group will be in $2, the third capturing group will be in $3, and so on. Is there a limit to how many $signs you can include in this? I don't know. I've never written a note tag that has 1,300 capturing groups inside it, and I hope to never need to know the answer to that question. At some point, I will Google it, but I have not done it yet. And if I ever find out that there's a maximum of like 9 capturing groups, I will simply rewrite my note tags to not require that many.
So one question comes up is that we've been capturing numbers so far.
Mm-hmm.
What if we get like mixed input, right? So input from different data types. How do we set up the capturing groups so that we get them in more or less the format that we want them? So let's say that we have a number followed by a name, Isaiah, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Followed by another number, right? Or a symbol of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
How do you set that up?
Yeah, so I could say var note equals regular expression, and then I could say note tag, and then capturing group 1 is D+, that's a number, and then we want a name, right? So let's say capturing group, and then W+, and I believe it's W. I'll double check on that, and that is any amount of non-digit, or any amount of letters, essentially. And then I might say space, and then the third one was another number, or was it something else? I've already forgotten.
So I suggested like a symbol, like the @ symbol or something, but I don't know if it makes any difference, right? So just do another number.
Yeah. So I'll do. Maybe this needs to
I know
be.
that the regex for special characters is different.
Yeah.
So I'm going to challenge you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're looking for something like a percentage sign, right?
Okay.
In that landscape.
Yeah. So we'll do a percentage sign, and it'll be a 2-digit number specifically. A 1-digit number won't work. A 3-digit number won't work. It must be a 2-digit number. We can do /d/d. And then I personally would put the percentage sign outside of the capturing group, because we don't need to know that data, strictly speaking. And if I were to say if data item notag info dot match note, I'll call this note 2 because it's new stuff. So then I would say var num equals number regexp 1, $1, can't forget the $sign, and then I might say var name equals regexp 2, and Visual Studio autofills to 2 because you just typed 1, so logically the next thing you might type is 2. And then I could say var percentage equals regex.3. And of course, right after I say that, it autofills to 1. And so percentage I know is going to be a 2-digit number. Now that number might be 0, 1, which if I were to cast 0, 1 to a number, I would just get the number 1. Well, that's completely fine with me. I might get 99, I might get, 80, etc. But if I get 8, then this just won't return at all. This won't happen because we didn't find 2 digits. So again, I'm expecting this to be a number, so I want to cast this to a number. And now you're thinking, what if I want to search for a symbol? What if I want to search for, does this contain one of these 2 words? What if I want to check to see if, maybe we accidentally misspelled Notetag and spelled it as not tag or something like that? Well, that's where I temporarily disable the display to make sure that I bring up the correct window, and then I re-enable the display, and we have a website called RegEx 101, and that's where I can do something like, let's say, I'll copy this in and I'll paste it. And RegEx 101 is really nice, and I'll zoom in to make sure that you can see it properly. So I'm going to type in Notetag 40 Waluigi 21% close brackets. Now immediately this guy, this website, the website that I type R into my search bar and this autofills before Reddit does, okay? This is the best website on the internet if you are making plugins in RPG Maker. If you want to do note tags, this is how you do it. Because notice that it highlights in blue because it matched. So if you were to type, note tag, etc. .match, and then put this in, then this says that it would be true. Whereas if I were to release the E, then it would not match. And then it says, hey, match 1, which would be $1, that contains 40. Not match 1, group 1, I should say. Group 2, that contains Waluigi, my second favorite name. Group 3, that contains 21. So you can use this website to say, hey, if I format my regular expression like this, will this test string work the way that I want it to? And this website's also great because I typed /I, right? That means case insensitive, as I described previously. But that's not the only regex flag. You generally won't use M. You generally won't use multi-line when doing note tags, because when you're evaluating note tags, you're generally breaking up things into checking only one line at a time. But you can scroll through these and say, okay, cool. If I want it to say it only matches if it's the last thing that appears with a capital D, right? So this matches, but if I were to add, maybe I don't understand how the D works. It's looking for a specific string. Okay, so I'll ignore that for now. Very common outside of RPG Maker, you'll see the use of global and multi-line. But most of the time when I'm doing note tags, I pretty much just use /I to make sure that it's case insensitive. But while we're here, and I do need to zoom out just because there's not enough screen real estate if I don't.
Yeah, we want to show them the quick reference.
Yes.
Right. So if you're wondering, how do you know all of these, like capturing groups and things like that? It's all there, right?
Yeah.
Like the website is extremely helpful in helping you figure out what symbols you need, right, in order to set up and what to kind of capture. You'll still need to figure it out a little bit on your own, but it has, as you've seen, basically a real-time debugger, right?
Yeah.
So as you can try different values, you will see what the result is, right? And based on that, you can kind of optimize, right, for what do you think your users will type in, right? Because this is where note tags actually kind of break down, right? Is that you can you can create a node tag, you can process in input, right? You can have it work with your plugin, but you are not prepared for the most important part of a plugin, which is the user, right? Because users will try all kinds of nonsense, right? And try to get it to work because that's just sort of the way that their brains are wired, or they need the plugin to do a very specific thing for their game. And what regular expressions help us to do, and they help us prevent having to write like thousands of if statements, anticipating every single type of input, and instead, right, set it up such that the input largely aligns with most of what a user can do, right, within like a possibility space.
So some
Yeah.
of the most useful ones that we haven't covered yet, some of the most useful, they're called tokens that we haven't covered yet, are, let's say, I don't have faith that a user will spell the word note tag correctly. Maybe I think they'll forget the E. So I can write a question mark and say, I can even highlight this and says, matches the previous token between 0 and 1 times, right? And the previous token is the letter E. So between 0 and 1 means it's either there or it's not there. So if I delete the E, it still matches. And if I remove that question mark, it doesn't match anymore because now, by default, everything must be present 1 time and not 0 or 1 times. What the plus does, we covered between 1 and unlimited times. An alternate version of that is asterisk, which is between 0 and unlimited times. So if it's entirely absent, for example, that would still be valid if this were an asterisk. Which is also why I generally prefer for it to be a plus if I know that I'm searching for numbers. Another thing is if you expect that your wording might be more intuitive for users to use a different word than you currently had planned. So I could say note tag or tag or I don't know, branch as a hypothetical, right? And then I could put all of that inside a capture, right? And so now, as long as it matches one of these 3 things, it's okay. But you don't want RegEx1 to be taken up by the word note tag necessarily. Sometimes you do. If these 3 words actually have different functionality, you might want to capture this. But if you just want to check to make sure that somebody writing one of 3 different things, they get the same behavior every time, and they don't need to wonder why things aren't working, and then look at the help file and figure out that they wrote the wrong word on accident, you don't want this to be a capturing group, right? So what you do is you write question mark, colon, inside the beginning of the capturing group, and now it becomes a non-capturing group. And that's just a way to be like, okay, we need to make sure that something in here is caught. It doesn't matter which of these things. We don't actually care what it is. We don't need to capture it. We just need to make sure that one of these things is there. So I think those 3 are generally, for me, in my experience, those are the most useful. Man, I love this playlist. I can't hear the music, but I know this song. I'm very happy with this.
Well, yeah, we'll figure it out for the next step stream.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to throw to chat for a little bit. How are things going? Are you all following along? Do you have any questions? The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to apply this, right? We're going to write a plugin that is looking for a particular like skill note tag, right? And be able to output to the console, right, what that value is, right, that we wrote in the database. One thing I did notice in the thing is Ecilla is talking about sort of a theory that I had like a couple months back, where we were talking about the possibility of changing a note tag while the game is running. So Isaiah, I think this is probably a good time to mention what is happening. You don't have to talk about how compilers work, right? But what is the difference between compile time and runtime, and how does it apply to note tags specifically?
Yeah. Okay. So games and languages.
Oh, to demonstrate this, I think a good thing would be go to a database loaded function in one of our plugins.
Okay.
Do you know the one? That has the process note tags, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'll go to.
I know block generate has like an entire section at the very end, right?
Should be the process card passives. I think is a good one. Yeah. So data manager dot process card passives note tags is
so go to the first processing function of that.
Okay,
You know, the one that just has the list of
is database
functions.
loaded.
Yeah, this is the best way to demonstrate that.
Yes. So basically every plugin I've ever seen that has note tags will put the note tags inside data manager.isDatabase loaded. There's a very consistent format through which you should do this, where this is a function that returns either true, it's loaded, or false, it's not loaded yet. And it's very common to be like, okay, I've got a variable that is false. If it's false, I process all of my tags, and then I set it's true, and then I return true. And this function is basically going to be run to make sure that everything is loaded correctly, including your note tags. So we've got some custom process card appearance note tags, process card action note tags, process card target action note tags, process passive note tags, and we pass data skills and data items along to these functions. And this structure is how you're going to want to put if you have note tags. This is where you're going to want to process them. And if the
question is, when are we calling this function? Right? When does this happen?
Oh yeah. Let me
in the execution of the game.
Yeah, let me boot up the game and sort of show you when that happens. Right now. It happened just now. In fact, before you saw Stream Project, before you saw this castle, it had already happened. You see that black screen right before it fades in? That's when all of those functions are called. So if I were to go
on the first frame,
yes,
of a game,
the very first frame of a game. So if I were to go into this plugin actually isn't in the project, but if I were to go into like a card game project and I were to type into the console, like data skills, right? And I were to look at, let's say, skill 4. Some of the variables that I would find in here are, for example, if I go into card passive note tags, we actually add variables to the data skills objects. So object in here represents one of the skills, and we create a new data member within one of the skills and give it card passives, and give card passives its own parameter, which is remove after play, if we find the line remove this, right? Of course, this remove this is now an action instead of a passive, but it still works as a passive. Well, let's check start in, and then we have /w+, which is, start in, and then we look for a word, and that word becomes a zone later on. So we say start in zone equals regex 1.2 lowercase. And then there's two semicolons.
I hope you all can see. Yeah, so I hope you all can see like how card actions and card passives are working, because you can literally see here, right, that like we're essentially within an if statement, the if statement being like, we're like, are we in passives? And if you're in passives, does the note that we process match like a particular format? If it does match that format, we give the skill that property.
Yeah.
Right. And then we will later check that skill, right, when it enters your hand, right, when it is created, right, in order to do that particular function.
Yeah. And in your card game projects, you can say data skills, let's say 11 dot card passives, and it'll be undefined here. I don't have 11 skills. That's very funny. And it'll say undefined here because I don't have card game project. But if you have card passives in skill 9, then you will see an object here because we gave it more data when we processed the note tags. So by the time we go into game, if I say card passive start in zone, by the time we go into game where this is actually happening, we're not even checking note tags anymore. We don't care about note tags anymore. We already got everything we wanted from them. We created variables based on them, and now we're just referencing the variables directly.
And Ecilla, this is why the changing of the note tags past compile time will not do anything in the current structure, because we don't actually go back and reread the note tags, right? We only use them to set up the sort of initial data, right? Once we have filled in the variables, we just manipulate the variables, right? So that's why, like, theoretically, we can do the thing that you mentioned with Slay the Spire, which is adding a keyword to a card, right? Removing a keyword from a card, things like that. But it's going to be a little bit more complicated than just changing around the note tags.
Yeah.
This does bring a question up for me, Isaiah, which is, so we process the note tags at compile time, right? Can we reprocess them through a function call, right, during runtime?
Yeah, actually. So I'm going to say I'm going to open up and I'm going to say because we're on skill 9, I'll say note tag 1, and I'll say note tag Waluigi. I don't know. Note tag Isaiah again. Cool. So if I were to go into and I hit save and I, refresh this, and I can say, all right, so at this point we've already processed all of our card note or all of our note tags. So any like script that would change the variables it has access to based on that have already been completed. However, I can still look at data skill 9 and I can still see that if I were to open this up, it does have a note value which contains all of its note tags. It still has that. And it looks like it's in one string, but that's because the enter key is its own, it's its own string that breaks it into multiple lines. So you can still, at any time, go through the note tags and do things based on dataskills9.note. If you wanted to. It's generally going to be less efficient, but there are circumstances in which you might want to. For example, if we were to, I don't want to open up Card Shop because I'm still working on an update for it, and if I try and do that, but actually, the shatter effect. Oh, I don't want to search my computer while I'm streaming. That's a recipe for disaster.
No. So let's sort of close this, right? So Ecilla, theoretically possible, right? Is we do that initial load of the note tags, right? Set up the cards that way, and then when you're in game, let's say you're in battle, right? You do the custom keyword thing, right? One way that we could probably do it, right? Which is probably going to end up being less efficient, is my guess, right? Is we add a keyword to a card, we change the note tag, and we reprocess that card, right? Now that change has to be reflected across all copies of that card of that skill ID, right? Any after it, I think we're good on, right? Because essentially it'll create the new card just based on the data skills. But the existing ones, right? That's where I think we'll run up into some issues, right? Where the note tags may be updated, right? But when we go and play the card, it is just doing the old thing, right? Instead of the new one. Yes, Ecilla mentions a pretty important point, which is do not dox yourself.
So while we're here, there is actually, if you've gone this whole time and you've been like, hey, this is overwhelming, I want to do note tags, but I don't want to have to deal with this RegEx stuff. It's very complicated. You might notice another data member here in data skills, which is this meta object, which contains note tag Isaiah again, true, note tag 1, true, note tag Waluigi, true. Those are the same. I put in note tag 1, note tag Waluigi, note tag Isaiah again. If I wanted to just, reference the meta value of the data, I do still have access to. I don't need to write a very complex like parser. I can just check to see if meta.notetag1 exists, then I can exercise certain behavior, and if it doesn't exist, then I won't exercise other behavior. That's a very simple, easy way to implement simple note tags. It does lack a lot of features, like, for example, checking if things are misspelled. You will also notice that it's not case insensitive. It's case sensitive, and that's also something that I generally prefer to avoid. But this is another method that you have to access note tags if you want to do something of that nature.
Okay, so let's wrap this sort of rudimentary explanation of note tags up by writing a plugin, right, that allows us to put note tags in skills, shall we say, right? And skills that go into an actor, and then we are able to output to console when the game runs, right? What like elements like from the actor we are able to get the note tag information. Does that make sense? So we save like maybe a number like to a skill, right, or like a string to a skill, right? And then from the actor's information, right, we're like, hey, do you have the skill? What does the name say? Does it say Isaiah, for instance?
Yeah.
Right. Would it be viable to set that up and kind of like put everything that we've been talking about together?
Absolutely.
Right. Into like a usable thing.
Okay. So let's make sure we understand this system of is database loaded. So we would want to say var data manager is database loaded. And again, the safe way is always to tie this to a variable that belongs to you instead of leaving it out in the open. But this is the quick and dirty way. And then we say data manager dot is database loaded equals function. And if the original function returns false, then return false. Oh, hold on. That needs to be... Let me make sure that... Yeah, so that is present there. I'll shrink this so we have a little bit more space. So if the original function returns false, then we return false. We don't worry about this. And we say if var is loaded equals false, and we say if is loaded, then we do some things, and then we set is loaded to true, and then we return true. So this is important to make sure that we only run these one time, because if we run them more than once, then there are huge inefficiencies. We're iterating through for loops like nobody's business, so we want to make sure that we're not doing that more than we need to. So then we might call
Isaiah.
Go ahead.
I think I've sort of clarified our example. So here's the pitch, right?
Okay.
You know how in Tweeby, right, there's like a cool value, right, like that like builds up, right, based on like what equipment you're wearing, like the clothes.
Yeah.
Right? What if we were to do that with not with skills, but with both data weapons and data armors, right? Essentially, there's a cool value that each of them have, and it adds up on the actor who is wearing it, right?
Okay.
And then we're able to pull their cool value, right?
Absolutely.
This should include the ability for weapons and armor to give you negative cool, and it'll still work.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. So we'll say data manager dot process coolness note tags, and we'll pass data weapons, and we'll want to define the function data manager dot process coolness note tags equals function group, and then we can also just with the same function pass data armor, and it's data armor, not data armors, right? Let me just double check.
Isn't it data armors? Yeah,
it is data armors. Okay, I always, because for me armor is plural for armor.
So chat, the reason that we're using this, right? Anything with the dollar sign kind of before it, right, is a big like global like variable, right? Something at the large RPG Maker level that it's using. All the data ones are like all the things that we're typing into the database are just turned into a giant array of objects, right? And those are accessed, those values are accessed for different things. So when we're passing in, hey, process the node tags in data weapons, that means it goes to that weapons tab, right? And it goes through every single weapon, right? And it's like, hey, do you have this node tag? Do you have this node tag? Okay, you have this node tag? Okay, I'll save this value to the weapon, right? Or save this value to the armor, as we will show.
So now we've got our process note tags, and we'll define the notes in a little bit. But for right now, we want to say for var n equals 1, not 0, and I'll explain why in a second. N is less than group.length, and then n plus plus. And then we'll say var obj equals group. Excuse me, I know how to type n. And then var note data equals object.note.split. And then this is a complicated regular expression. You will recognize it's a regular expression because it has the same text color in Visual Studio as a string, but instead of quotation marks, it's slashes. And then the last thing we want to do is say for var I equals 0, I is less than note data.length, I plus plus. Now, if you're just looking at this code for the first time, and I were to ask you, what does this do? You might have an answer for part of it, but not all of it. And I imagine the part that you would get stuck on the most is this regular expression, right? And also this split function, right? So let's break this down momentarily. So we're calling process coolness note tags on data weapons. Data weapons is the group. So we're creating a for loop, but we're starting with index 1. And we're not doing index 0 because, well, you can see this with data armors. The index of 0 is null in RPG Maker. The database starts at 1 even though arrays start at 0. RPG Maker makes this database start at 1 because that's less confusing for new users who don't know how programming works. And they make sure that there's no confusion when moving from the database to arrays by just chucking a null at index 0. So index 1 contains database item number 1. It's a pretty sensible solution, all things concerned, but it does mean that whenever we process note tags, we want to skip the index of 0. So we start at 1. And now what we're doing is we've got the object at group n within the loop. So the first time through the loop, it would be the first object. And we're grabbing its note values, and then we're splitting it. And what this regular expression functionally means is that we're just splitting it by line. This note data is now an array of strings, and each string is a different line. So as an example here, note data in this list of note tags would be an array containing 3 different strings. One containing note tag 1, one containing note tag Waluigi, one containing note tag Isaiah again. And if I were to delete this, then it would be an array of 2 strings, where one of those strings happens to contain 2 note tags. Most people stop looking for note tags once they find the first one on a given line. And a part of that is because it's, more efficient than looking for multiple. And a part of that is because it's not generally useful to put 2 note tags on one line. So now that we've broken note data now that we've broken the notes into an array, now we want to iterate through that array, and we can say var line equals note data I. And line is 1 line of note tags. So now we can use regular expressions to search that line for matching strings. So in this case, we want say var cool note equals regular expression brackets, because that's how we determine cool, or that's how we determine note tags. coolness, colon, and then digit, right? That seems fairly reasonable, right? Oh, we need close
Yeah,
rec.
I think so.
But you said we want.
That'll be pretty important.
You said we want.
We want the coolness to potentially be negative as well.
Yes.
So it could be a positive number. If it's a positive number, it adds up. If it's negative, it subtracts from the total.
Yeah. So let's check. Let's test our hypothesis while we've got the console open. If I were to say, so we've got var neg equals ativ equals, let's say, -6, right? And that's a string. If I were to say number negative, that would evaluate to -6. Sometimes you got to double check to make sure. If I were to put a minus here, then it would look for minus, and then it would look for a number. And so if I were to cast that to a number, cast the whole thing to a number, then we would get a negative number. That's great. But we're not necessarily going to have a minus there, right? It could be a positive number. So what we do is we add a question mark. Is that minus going to be there? It, between 0 and 1 times is what minus does. Let me just make sure real quick, because I've got RegEx open. Give me 1 second. So I've got RegEx open. Let me just make sure that if I were to copy this, that I would get exactly the outcome that I'm looking for. So I've got coolness, and then 40. Okay, cool. It does match. And if I were to say -40, then we would get the negative. So my hypothesis that adding a negative here, and then putting a question mark, and then /d, all of that is great. If I wanted to add an extra quality of life thing, something that I've been doing increasingly more, is I've been adding question marks to the end of my colons, because sometimes people forget the colon and they wonder why their note tag isn't working, and just making it so that the colon isn't strictly necessary goes a long way to making your plugin more useful. So I've found some pretty good results from that, but it's an extra thing. It's not entirely necessary.
There is so much going on behind the scenes, you guys, to just make it so that it's easy to use. Right? It's not even funny.
Thanks so much for joining, Mother Raptor. Feel free to check out the VOD once it's up. But thanks for being here as long as you have. This has been a very complicated tutorial. I've tried to make it as
they asked for it, right? They were like,
did.
"Hey, how do you know tags?" Right?
We're
like, well,
we're almost to the finish line too. Like we're real close. So we've got the line, and we want to say if line.match cool note. Then we do something, and we say, okay, var coolness equals, and we want to cast this to a number, regular expression .1. And then we can say obj dot coolness, not coolness, equals coolness, right? And we've done it. So, the moment we hit save, and then I have to save this to a file, and then it's going to show you my computer directory. So I'm probably going to mute the display while I do that. This is just going to work. As soon as you have like a note tag in here, I say it's just going to work. I guarantee something's going to go wrong.
No. No, we need to actually put note tags in the
we need to put note tags in, and then we need to make the values actually do something. But
there's also the important. So do you want to leave that step for after we've confirmed that it compiles?
Yes. I've muted the display on the stream so that I can save things without worrying about doxing my not doxing. That's not what doxing is, but you get me.
I say you've already been doxed once. It's okay. Like, we would take more precautions, right? If like that were like more of a concern.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I called it Myth
I mean,
Cool
who's gonna get mad at
Notegs.
us for? Hey, that's a great name.
So now I'll go in and I'll say, okay, Myth Cool Notegs. I saved it in. Yeah, no, I was gonna say I saved it in the wrong place because I couldn't find it. So now we'll go in and we'll say, okay, armors, coolness.
I think a shield gives you
6.
like a 10 coolness.
Okay, 10.
Oh, 6. Okay.
10. I like it.
I think so. I think shields are pretty cool.
Do you think this is a cool hat or do you think it's a lame hat?
I think it's a fedora, so that's like negative 30 coolness.
Okay, negative 30. Okay, cool. And then ring, I'm gonna say.
Oh, let's do it.
3.
Let's do a weapon. Let's do a weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do a weapon. Axes are the coolest ones, so they give you
Yes, 100%.
Cane gives you that Dr. House look, so I'm gonna give you at least a 5. And then
and then bows I think are pretty cool.
Bows are cool.
Used by such characters.
I'll give you 10.
I mean, like Legolas. You got your famous bow users like Legolas and March 7th.
The problem is we need a lame weapon, and all of these weapons are cool. That's the problem.
So we can rename one, right? What's a lame weapon in your opinion?
Man. Wow.
Let's look at the icons. The icons have the.
That's
the
true.
weapons
I was like, man, I really can't think of a
Yeah.
lame weapon.
Books maybe. No, like hitting somebody with a book is actually like pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right, like in an RPG. Yeah. Damn, these are all cool weapons.
Slingshot. Slingshot. That's the lame
slingshot.
one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily the
By
best
the way,
use
this-
of our time.
Yeah. This is completely subjective, right? But
Coolness is
what we're
mindset.
trying to demonstrate. Yeah, what we're trying to demonstrate is that we're going to be able to process the note tags, whether they're positive, negative, and also most importantly, if the thing just doesn't have a note tag, we don't care about it, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't add to our coolness.
So if I look at data armors, then I've already forgotten which of the ones we've gone through. But if I look in, okay, so this has note
Shield.
coolness, right? Oh, cool. It has a variable called coolness that is set to 10 because the shield is cool. If I look at the cloth does not have it because it doesn't have any note tags that pertain to it. The ring has a coolness of 3, and the hat has a coolness of -30 because it's a fedora. And you'll notice the meta has an object called coolness, which contains space -30 as a string. So now we've confirmed that it shows up, whether or not it does anything, and it currently doesn't do anything. But so now let's add a function to game actor that gets their coolness as acquired
Total
by
coolness.
their total equips. And we can look at the way param plus does this, where we can say, okay, we could say ignore the initial value, and then we get equips, and then we go through the equips, and we check to see what its like value is within a specific like parameter, and then we return the total value. So we can sort of mirror.
That is slander. Isaiah never wore a fedora.
I feel like I would have worn a fedora, but I don't think I ever did. So we can say var value equals 0, var equips equals this dot equips. Now this is going to give us game equipment, not data equipment, which is important because data equipment is the object that actually contains the coolness value. So for var I equals 0, I is less than equips dot length I plus plus. Oops, not 3 pluses. I don't know what 3 pluses does, but I don't like it. Now if I were to say, I'll say var item equals equips. I really do type like this, and I'll say console.log item.
Operation. So if you did something like I++ plus J plus plus. The plus pluses would happen first before the addition, I believe.
It's
Please, real coders, correct me if I'm wrong. Right? But
so
like there's a
so the order in which it happens depends on where the plus plus is. We don't have time to get into it because
pre or post.
yeah. So if I go in and I say, okay, new game, and then I say game party dot leader dot coolness, then because I had us output a console log of all of our equipment, and okay, so it looks like we are using data weapons as opposed to skills are stored a little bit differently. So we can just use their coolness values directly. Okay, that's great. So we can say if item dot coolness, because not all items have a coolness value.
You will be equipping things that don't have a coolness.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can say value plus equals item dot coolness. And then I'll get rid of the console log here, and then we will return value. So now I can go in, I can hit new game. I have accidentally stopped the recording, so I'm going to start recording again. It's mapped to F6, and I accidentally hit that instead of F5. So I can call coolness. Cannot read property coolness of null. Oh, that's an interesting crash. Neil, do you have any idea why we might be getting this error?
I'm gonna throw to chat. Chat. Why are we getting this error?
Here,
Drewster. Thanks for sticking around. I know this went a little bit long, but hopefully when you watch the VOD, it'll all make sense.
I'm showing off the code, and why do we think that this error might happen? Is Scylla laughing at me for stopping the recording?
Yeah, I'm gonna give chat 30 seconds before I give the answer.
I'll take this time to hydrate.
Yes, very important. Okay. Chat seems to be clueless. Don't worry, it's perfectly fine. But we did cover this earlier. So it seems that we're starting with 0, and 0 is usually null in data weapons, data armors, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, but that's not that's true in data weapons. But we're referring
not for equips.
Yeah, we're looking at a list of equipment the game actor currently has. However, your thinking is on the right track, and it's a quirk of the way RPG Maker handles equipment, specifically the way it handles the relationship between equipment and equipment slots. So if I were to type gameparty.leader.equips, I would get an array which includes a null value.
There's a null slot.
Because the accessory is not equipped.
Right.
And
so would we check for that and then continue on the iterator?
Exactly.
Right? So we skip that. Yeah.
So we could say if item continue. Boom. So now if they have an empty equipment, that's obviously not going to have a coolness value because it doesn't have anything. So now we can go in and we can say, okay, new game. Don't accidentally stop recording. Call the coolness value, and we can see that it's minus 27 because he's wearing a hat.
That fedora's killing us. That fedora's killing us, right? So.
Oh, it's the hat and the slingshot.
Okay, so we
have to get rid of those.
We gotta take those notes. Okay.
All right.
And so now
we're at 10.
Hey, we're cool again. Right?
So there we go.
And so something fun you could do with the coolness value is that you talk to an NPC, right? They give you an optical pat down, and they're like, "You're this cool," right? And then it'll be like a cool, it'll be a fun reactive bit of dialogue. This would be fun if in your RPG you have like a fashion contest, right? And so they gotta like put together the set of equipment, right? That gives them like the biggest like cool bonus, right? So that they're able to win, right? Um, yeah. How far would a continue go? One iteration of a loop.
Yeah. So in for loops, there's the continue keyword, which basically interrupts the current iteration of the for loop and skips to the next one. And then there's break, which interrupts the current iteration and skips all remaining iterations. So
Yeah,
if
Ecilla says until the max limit of the database or the one you set up. So coolness specifically only cares about the equips list, right? On the actor, but on the note tag, right? It just goes through all of them because that's just how we've set up the for loop for those.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, so that's note tags, right? So the best way to learn about note tags is read plugins, right? Read the code, right?
Yeah.
Read the specifically the note tag processing part. Different plugin developers have different methods, right? But there have been basically some best practices, right? So for example, that split, right? You will see everywhere. You will see like it is standard at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like to use split that way, right? The other thing that you all might be curious about is Isaiah show them the in CCC Core Engine for card actions, right? Like
Yes.
the start and end note tag, right?
Yeah. So
if you skip down a little bit.
yeah, so we've got the process card actions note tag that we call for data skills and data items so that items can use them. And then we've got a start note and an end note. And there's a / because that is how we instruct RegEx to actually look for the character. Otherwise, it's going to think that this is modifying the C directly after it. Which is also why, /D is not interpreted as literally /D. So what we do is we get the note data value, and then I have a variable called mode. And if we find the start note, we set the mode to actions. If we find the end note, we set the mode to nothing. But if we're already in the actions mode, then we can continue and do stuff with anything else that we find. So that's how we're able to have, essentially, we've got a note that tells us to start looking for very specific things, and a note that tells us to stop looking for very specific things. And while we're in the mode that tells us to start looking for things, well, we actually don't process the card action note tags immediately. What we do is we say, okay, the line that is between the start and the stop tag, we just add that to the list of card actions because all card actions are strings. And so instead of, processing all of the instructions here, what we do is we process them when we perform them. So this one function, perform card action, this contains all of the code. Well, it contains function calls to all of the code based on what rig expression it finds within this particular card action. I'm just going to skip past my to-do section there.
Yeah. Always remember to leave comments for yourself, right? Because working on a piece of code is communicating with your future self, right?
Yeah.
Because your future self will look at the code and be like, what was it doing here? And why did I do it this way? Right? Yeah.
And then I have at the very end, I have a warning. If our regular expressions couldn't find something that we recognized, then we let the user know that we've run into an issue. Which maybe the issue is on their end. Maybe there's a typo. I check, could there be a typo? Because at the end of the day, I can't guarantee that there won't be. But just in case, I say, here's the action you wrote. Here's the action you wrote. Here's the action we parsed. And here's the, let us know if there's a problem or fix your stealth. Something that I do at the very top here is I format the card action. So I replace an instance of like the word comma surrounded by specific characters with a comma, I do that to allow for commas inside code, so that we're not separating a string by comma. And then I replace /v. This is a very complicated way of saying I replace /v with the value of a game variable, which is how you're able to replace game variables with numbers and things like that. And in other card game combat plugins, I actually override the card format action and the performed card action in order to add more format abilities and more card actions. So that's how those two things work.
Nice. Okay, so I think that about wraps up our talk on note tags. This is really a thing that you'll have to read up and kind of like work on your own plugins, right, in order to get working. But it's an extremely powerful tool. It's one of the best ways that, at least for RPG Maker, we've found for users to be able to determine things at a per skill, per actor, per weapon level, right, what they want to do. Right. So have fun, right? This is it's a lot to learn. Okay, so energy level wise, Isaiah, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty all right. I want to take a quick 5-minute break to use the bathroom, and then we'll set up the next segment of the stream. If you want to explain to the audience what that's going to be while I'm evacuating.
Do you want to queue up the just have the there isn't a title screen, but just have the idle screen up while you're out.
I want to mute my display and then head out. And
then while
set
you're
it
out.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So while we're looking at the note tag code, so our next segment is going to be a short playthrough of Ecilla's new game, LoveLace. LoveLace uses CGC. It's a really interesting game that we want to show off. It's got this amazing diegetic UI, right, that tries to kind of imitate you being inside a console, right, like an old-timey kind of computer console. And you are building a robot girlfriend, and you are debugging different. You're running her through different tests, right? And throughout the process, right, she sort of gains sentience, right? Which is a really cool, like a sci-fi kind of premise. So this is an NSFW game. So if you're at work and things like that, maybe this is the part that you tune out. Ecilla has kindly put together an SFW version, right? But we cannot guarantee that there might be stuff left in there, right? That you may, I'm not gonna say object to, right? But because we tend to be pretty positive about that kind of thing. But if you're in a setting where you feel like potential NSFW content may not be appropriate, I think just relocate yourself, right, to a place where you can, because you'll definitely want to catch this, right? It's a really cool game, right, that I really hope that when Ecilla releases the public version that you will check out, right? Okay, all right. Well, I guess I'm just vamping here for a bit. Who's left in chat? I know Ecilla is gone, taking a bit of a break. Mathraptor and Drewster have taken off for the night. Perfectly understandable, right? The note tag talk. I hope it didn't put them to sleep, because I do think it's actually pretty interesting. It was just important that we cover strings and like casting, right, and things like that, to get to the note tag. And as you saw, like actually setting up the coolness note tag, like that wasn't that hard, right? Like once we knew everything that we sort of had to know. Probably the hardest part of that lesson is regular expressions, right? They may look scary, but they're actually very useful, right? And they're very good tools kind of out there for you to be able to kind of set them up, test them out, right? But as always, the best tester, right, for this kind of thing is just put it in front of another user, right? See what they are able to do, see what they sort of expect right, to go into the expression. I think all of that stuff is pretty important to getting your plugin right. Hey, Drewster's still in chat. Excellent. Isaiah, you back?
I am.
Yeah.
Let me.
Cool. And this is the most recent build that's been sent, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One thing we'll probably want to check is see if that save bug is happening, and then just create the file.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the settings, make sure the game music is coming through. Well, you don't have a way of making sure, so I'll check on stream. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, music is coming through.
Excellent. And save files working well. So we're
excellent.
Good.
All right. So yeah. So Ecilla, if you're still in chat, go ahead and introduce the game. I did a bit of preamble, right? Kind of describe the premise, right? But yeah, Isaiah, feel free to click around, see what strikes your interest.
It's wild that I'm like, yeah, this is an RPG Maker project, of course. I'm gonna turn the game down a little bit. Maybe I want to.
There are some really good tracks.
I'll keep it at 30. I just want to make sure that I can.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
So you start out with Celine, right, at 0% personality, right. One thing you'll want to check is mods.
120 out of 120 stability. God, I wish that were me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it has a bunch of extensions. Can you go ahead and unequip the flex code once?
Yeah.
Or let me see. Oh no! Wait, no. These are no. So yeah, these are the placeholders. Okay, yeah. This is a new build. You're good. So this is using equip cards. That's your deck, right? Like all of these little like bytes and components and things like that. And they will come up right when we go and into debug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that like the deck was set up right before you start.
I gotta play Plinko.
These are a couple mini games.
Sorry,
yeah, absolutely.
I have to play Plinko.
Yeah. So these are some mini games that are set up. You can get different like rewards, kind of using that. So
I think do not know how to play Plinko. Oh, okay, up here.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I'll spend half my white coins on this.
You'll get them back.
Not so far. Oh, you know what? I should put it. I should put it here.
Yeah, try it.
Third slot. Let's go. Damn it. I had a real good shot. I had a 3/4 shot of getting it in. All right, let's get out of here.
But yeah, Ecilla in chat, if you want to sort of explain, like how did you set up the Plinko game? While Isaiah, I think you'll sort of get used to the controls. So what Ecilla mentions is alphabets still, lots of placeholder text, 0 narrative so far. For a public release, there would definitely be intro to the narrative, likely have NSFW and SFW versions. The topic of the story will be adult or adult oriented. So you're in the first debug, you have a hand of cards. What do you think you should do? Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Gains 5 barrier, gains 1 bite. This also gains barrier. Fuse requires bites. And then I could deal damage. I'm going to assume that if I gain barrier, that is gaining block. That's language I understand.
Yeah, and as you can see, there's a little like barrier animation in front of Celine.
Yeah. Okay.
So now that you've gained a bite, see what Fuse has to say.
Okay. Initiate bite fusion to draw 1 wave card. Okay. Oh, I love that the log the log here shows
Yes.
like the previous. Oh damn! Sorry, I'm like...
Yeah, it's so cool, right? Yeah.
Okay. Draw one wave card. I'm not sure how many cards I can play. I'm not sure where that information is.
Yeah, so that is listed up top, right? Next to the white deck, right? At the start, you can only play 3 cards in a turn. Certain cards won't use up your action. So Fuse won't use up your action, but Wave will if you decide to use it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead and use Fuse. Right? And that generates a card, and this is from one of the things that you equipped, right? These are the core module, right, that do this. And for different byte amounts, they will generate different cards, right?
Okay.
And you can kind of build a strategy, right, sort of around it. So go ahead and try using Wave. Right? Does a decent chunk of damage, right?
All right.
Right? But you have a little bit more damage coming through. So yeah, what do you want to do? Do you want to strike back at the enemy, right? Barrier up.
I think I want to barrier up.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and end your turn.
All right. Oh, over here.
Nicely done.
Right.
You managed to take no damage.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, easy bites. Nothing. I can't benefit from bites this turn.
Yeah, but it's essentially saving up for sort of next turn.
Yeah.
Now this turn is pretty lucky because none of the enemies are going to directly attack you, right? The diamond is going to try to like shuffle in some cards, right? But everything else, right? They're sort of deciding their action. So these breather turns, I think, are a pretty good way to sort of like set up your next plan, right? Or maybe throw some damage, right, at the enemies. The other cool thing is that those bite cards, right? They will take themselves out of the deck, right? So they remove after you. So it actually makes it such that you hit your main cards, like faster, accelerating the game. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you got a couple bites, and now you can fuse, and you can fuse into a different card, right? I believe that should be, ramp, right? So that takes the defense of one of these down, and allows you to deal more damage, right, to an enemy.
Okay.
So you have an enemy that's about to attack you. One feature that Ecilla mentioned in chat is that the malware that you're fighting, they are in 2 states. If they're in a closed state, they take a little less damage, right, than you would be able to deal to them. But when they're open, they're a little bit vulnerable, right? So and usually they open up to attack you, right, which is like the best time to get in some damage.
Okay. So with that in mind. Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, and you were able to do like a little bit more. And so yeah, now you got a couple options, but burying her up makes sense. Okay, so yeah, so Scylla mentions, unlike regular cards, core cards do not use any card points to play.
Okay.
Oh, so you got some status cards in there now. So this is what the diamond has been doing, right? In the debug log, you'll be able to check. It's putting in a nanovirus, right? It's trying to eat away, right, at your stability.
Okay.
So yeah, you can either choose to spend your turn, right, like dealing damage, right, and like just take that hit, right, or clear them, right, which sort of reduces your efficiency a little bit.
So they're gonna deal 5 damage. I cannot block that this turn.
Yeah. You can try to kind of counter them, right? Because I believe you'll be dealing like 18 damage to them. And how much health does that diamond have?
It has 30.
Okay, so that might be a little bit out of range.
Yeah.
Can one of your fusion cards help you? So that's wave, right? It deals like 7 damage sort of across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Looks like you'll be taking damage this turn either way. I think it's just a matter of like how much you want to mitigate.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna play these cards to remove them. Just want to make it so that I don't have to deal with them. And then, so I could deal. I think I want to take this guy out so I have fewer people to worry about. And then next turn, he's going to be
Makes
taken
sense.
care of.
Yeah. I think that's all good.
Okay. 7 and 5, huh?
Oh, you
Or
have
like only 5.
You have a great opportunity here. So you can hack that the one right that is at low health, or you can get a wave and hit 2 of them while they're open.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's one card that's dealing with 2 enemies, right? Which I think is pretty decent.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now you still have actions left over.
And then, so it's 9. Not going to take care of this guy this turn, but very close.
Yeah. Later on, you'll develop the ability to deal crits, right? And that definitely can like improve your chances, right? Of taking an enemy with even higher damage.
Okay. So 9, 18. This guy is got a barrier against him. And then I'm digging your wave strategy here.
Yeah, it's one card that deals with 2 enemies, right?
Yeah.
So like you're just getting card advantage that way.
Yeah, I'm really not doing too poorly here. I mean, this is the first fight, so it checks out.
Yeah. Nice. So every time you complete like a stage of a test, right, you will get some materials, right, and some byte coins as a result. These will come up in the crafting a little bit later.
Gain 1
So yeah,
byte.
you sort of have a free turn. The enemies are deciding what they want to do.
No, I don't know what a 2 fuse card is.
I mean, check it out.
Yeah.
So to give you a peek behind the curtain, 1 and 2 will have the same card. 3 and 4 will have the same card, and then 5 is like the super card.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, in that case, I am going to just do that, because I'm just gonna play aggressively for this one, for this round.
Yeah, I mean you have the stability to spare, right?
Yeah.
So you may as well use it.
Now, as soon as they enter attack mode, okay. It's just one attacker that we have to deal with, which is really not bad. He's got 10 HP, so I can take care of him.
And yeah, and he's open, right? So you're getting your full damages worth, right, against him.
And then this will be
So
a
you
good
don't
test
need
to
to
see
build barrier.
if barrier
Oh sure. Yes.
stays across turns.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so
it
barrier
does not.
clears.
Okay,
right?
cool. That's good to know.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so you got some nanoviruses in, right? Those could be a problem.
Since they're deciding I've got the time. I'm big anti-damage. That's my bit.
Okay. So yeah, so you have 1 damage source. You could potentially turn the fuse into another damage source, right?
Yeah.
You may not be able to take it out this turn, right? So I think prepare for that.
So I'm gonna Oh, my brain went, why didn't I draw a wave card? I forgot to play fuse. Very silly.
Very important.
Okay. That's all right. I can handle that. And then No attack cards currently. That's fine. Get rid of that. Play a dummy, and then...
Keep waving.
Yeah, honestly.
Right, so long as there's multiple enemies in the field, like wave, I feel is pretty worth it. Right? But the best time to wave, right, is when... And I think you can clear.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, okay. So you earned a couple things, and yeah, Celine's gaining personality.
All right.
So now that you've gained a couple items, you may want to check out the craft. So craft, as you play the game, you unlock schematics, right? And that lets you make the different pieces, right, that you're using to sort of bring out Celine's like personality, right? And these manifest as sort of different cards, right? Different upgrades, right? Things like that. They require different components, right? Like silicon, like nodes, wires, fibers, things like that, which you can earn through the debugging trials, or you can buy at Caddy's shop.
Okay. If only I hadn't spent all my Bitcoins. Alas.
You can sell components, right?
Okay.
In order to like make up the difference. So if you go to the shop below, right, you'll be able to do that. So what are you thinking about making? I think first.
Yeah, let me look at. So I was thinking about operating system seems like the major one, given that it's the only option like within its submenu. Something that requires 3 bytes is, or something that requires 5 bytes is wild. At least currently.
Oh, but they're totally worth it, right? Like they're sort of like these big like capstone pieces, right? So I think the sweets may be a little bit out of range, unless you would like to make them. But like the nodes, I think could be doable, just depending on like what you rolled on the materials.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a precision visor that like kind of bumps that up, and then. So it looks like it looks like you're lacking a couple materials. So maybe we create a sweet piece instead.
Okay.
Yeah. So how much do you need for that one?
For that one, I need 2 node, 2 silicon, and 3,000 Bitcoin. So I think I'm lacking in materials kind of regardless.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So in that case, let's head on out. If you want to go to the next debug, or if you want to hit the shop, right? You can at least see like what.
I'll check out the shop.
Yeah.
Test. I understand completely.
Yeah. So there's some materials, right? They cost sort of different amounts, right? And also there's schematics that you can buy there. You should be able to sell stuff.
I cannot currently.
I don't know why that's disabled. Okay, unfortunate. It's okay. I think we are just gonna truck along right to the next debug. Yeah. This would be probably a good time to so try to build up to 5 and see what that gets you.
Okay.
Fun fact. So the core cards stay, right? So like once you generate one, like they stick around in your hand. At least they did last build. I don't know if that's still the case. So you can kind of plan with them. So you can like generate the bytes, fuse them, and you don't have to use that card this turn.
Okay.
And what that helps you do is you can like combo, right? Kind of down the line.
Okay.
So there's a really cool card right at 5, right? So I think if you have the space for it, try to generate it. Ecilla has identified that that is a bug that you cannot sell stuff.
We love to see it. So I'm at 12 barrier. I'll take 1 damage. That's fine. I can handle that. And then sure, I'll just gain a byte.
And Ecilla has confirmed that core cards still stick around. Right? So even on turns where like where you don't like the enemies aren't attacking, right? Maybe you generate a wave. You could potentially hold on to it to when the enemies are attacking you, right? For kind of optimal damage. Yeah.
Well, this guy
I
is
think you can
one
take
health,
this one out.
so I think that's gonna be what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, and like there's a big difference between like when they're open and closed, right? So kind of time your attacks kind of based on that. So this is an attack turn for sure. so that gives you ramp, which is not ideal. So I think maybe use this time to instead build up to 5, right? And generate duo. Now you won't have a use for duo this turn, but duo basically like makes it that your attack cards hit twice, which is huge, right? Okay, you drew into a bunch of attack cards. Start by using duo.
Absolutely.
And now,
oh my god,
that card's doing 18 damage. Yeah. You could just pop off. Yeah.
18 damage, you say? Well.
Yeah. Well, a little less, right? But like you were able to use it over 3 attacks, right? So even while closed. Yeah.
Very valuable, regardless.
Okay. All right. They're open.
So I'm thinking 1 bite and 2 hacks is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I think so. You could also potentially, you could like hack fuse, right? And that would have killed it. No, it wouldn't, because it's at 9, right?
It's at 4.
Okay, yeah. So hack fuse to a wave, right? Would have taken it out, but that's fine, right? Like you didn't end up taking that much damage. Yeah.
It's all right, Ecilla. Who needs money? It's not like I would have wasted it all at the slots again.
Slots are dangerous. Right?
Let's see. So we've got 2 dummies and hack, I think is how this is going.
Yeah. So Ecilla's mentioned one of the little combos that the BB suite has, which is you have a duo and a wave, right? Which can be great, right? Because you get to do this like AoE attack twice, right? Honestly, ramp could also be pretty good here, right? Because that debuff, right, will help push damage even while they're defending.
That's true. I'm sort of thinking dummy fuse, and the next turn I go full offense.
Next turn, yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Go for it. So a big thing you're probably realizing is that those dummies, they're clogging up your hand, aren't they? What if they were actual cards? And this is why you build the little things, right? In the thing, because you got to swap them out, right, for like a full like working card.
So this guy's gone,
and
this
then
guy's gone.
That guy is severely damaged, right? Not deleted,
and then I block.
Pretty close. Yes.
I take just a sniff of damage. I can handle it. Well, I guess I'm hacking.
You can wave and probably take him out. Wait, no. So how much health do they have?
They have 6. So
so
okay. they're at 1
easy.
health.
Yeah.
I looked over at chat and Ecilla saying dummies are also Neil's idea, and I'm like, that checks out. That Neil would be like, notice this cool thing. It was his idea the whole time.
Yes.
No, but I do really like it.
It's so there was a previous build that like didn't involve the dummies, and like this is when you probably saw in chat I was talking about the infinite loop that I made, and I'm like, hey, maybe you want to clog up that loop, right, a little bit.
So
but also there are certain builds that like really like can benefit from the dummies, right? So you don't have to take them all out. Oh, you're pretty close. You can get this one.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Oh, and now I get all the dummies.
So these guys, not only will they attack, Yeah, so these guys, not only will they attack, they'll steal some resources from you if you
Oh, man.
if you can see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So maybe now is a good time to spend all of your bytes so they don't get stolen.
and then, I mean, it's about the best I can
Yeah,
do.
you did your best. Yeah.
I'm just gonna tank the hits.
You have enough stability.
That's true. My utility points, no.
Yeah.
My lust,
Those will
no.
be yeah, those will be useful down the line.
Will I take out the cube? Yes.
You did.
All right, and then I'll just play the dummies.
Yeah, that way you get rid of them, right? And then your future hands, right, are improved by it.
And then should be able to take this guy out. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Whenever wave comes in, this is something that I think is a good like quality of life. Whenever wave comes in, they sort of have summoning sickness.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they won't attack the turn that they came in, right?
Yeah, that is very nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I can play 2 dummies and then a bite and get 3 bites. I think I'm gonna hack and then dummy. I do also really like the idea of like, hey, here's a card that does something useful, but its main benefit is that once you use it, it's not there anymore, so you're more likely to get better cards.
Yeah. So there's sort of like an early game, like later game, like kind of dynamic like that.
And it makes perfect
so
sense.
now they're opened up.
It makes perfect sense
So
to
you should be able to
them.
take one of them out.
Yeah. It makes sense to replace them with better cards.
His offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the average quality of my deck at the start of the round is not great, and by the end of the round it's pretty good. But it is an objective improvement to improve the average quality of my deck the entire time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just going to be 3 hacks, and then I'll get him next turn.
Attack. Yeah, and then keep on the offensive, and I think you're there.
Boom. I really enjoyed the presentation of this. I love to gain personality. All right, let's see.
Okay, so yeah, now you should be able to. Well, I think check out crafting first.
The problem is I need to spend Bytecoins in order to craft anything.
Yeah. So I think the gambling at the start really messed up the economy a little bit. We are going to because this is the project version. We're gonna cheat a little bit. So pull up the console.
Oh, absolutely. You can say game
pull up the
party
console.
game gold.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm gonna.
Yeah. And just give yourself a ton of gold. I hope Bytecoins is gold, right?
It's too many zeros. I'll break the economy that way. 6,000. Enough to gamble twice more.
Yes.
Okay. I still don't have the resources that I need for this stuff, but that's okay. I'm close.
Yeah. So you can buy any surplus you need, right? Like in the shop.
Yeah. Here, let me. Oh, I gotta close the console. It's slowing down the game. That's my bad.
Yeah.
I was like, why is the game suddenly slower? The console. I've already forgotten what I need. Let me go back here.
It would be good like if these were just like tabs that were next to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the nodes are quite a ways away. 1 circuit, 3 fiber, 3 silicon. Let me look at initiate dual cast for 1 turn.
So you already have this suite, right?
Okay.
So the BB suite, right? So I believe a new one should have unlocked, right?
Yeah, the PP set
Yeah.
gains 8+10 barrier and initiate Echo Flux for 1 turn. Doubles current barrier. Okay. Okay, so let's look at 1 silicon, 1 node. That's what we need here for PP Suite 1. So we can, and then 1 silicon.
Hey, you did it.
All right.
Okay. So now when you go into mods, you will be able to swap it out. So go to your core, where you BB Suite 1. Yeah, that'll be the replacement.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of Wave, right, you'll get access to that. So I think double click on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can swap it out.
Okay.
So there's a big incentive to get sort of all 3 pieces sort of the suite.
Yeah.
But you can absolutely mix and match, and there are some mix and match combinations that are better than the set bonus, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. Go ahead and jump back into on a debug. And see what your new cards have.
Sorry, did you say give myself more gold and go back to the casino?
The shop? I mean, not the casino, but if you, I mean, by all means, like, if you want to try. Yeah.
Oh, this is an easy 4th slot. We're looking at the 4th slot here. Oh, it's in the bag. Heck yeah. And I got my money back. You know what that means? Oh hell no. Not with this setup. No. We're out of here. I know when to cut my wins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And now we got 3 levels. Okay. Not me immediately wishing I had Wave back.
I mean, you. So try the new card. I think it'll pay off here. Just a hunch.
Echo Flux for 1 turn.
Yeah,
Echo Flux reflects 50% of all day. Okay, all right. You're right.
Yeah, so you can turn the aggression sort of against them. And the more barrier you build, right, the more safer you'll be behind that strategy. Yeah. And now you get all of your defense.
I was gonna say, we want some bites?
Yeah, I mean, like, stock up, right?
Yeah. Not capable of damaging me. Oh, sorry. We wanted some dummies.
Yeah, you're getting the extremes that Randomness is giving. So,
well, we're gonna, you know, as long as I've got a fuse next turn. No, they stole my bite. My bite.
It's all good. Yeah, because again, you want to barrier up anyway, right?
Yeah, that's true.
In this build. So it sort of synergizes a little bit, right?
So I'm gonna get.
Oh, so you're gonna get it. You're gonna get a duo. This might not be the turn to use the duo, but next turn maybe. Yeah.
All right. So we got hack. I don't love this turn.
So this might be an Echo Flux turn.
Yeah.
So I think this might be an Echo Flux turn, right? So go ahead and bite up. And then fuse. You can do that as well. Yeah, that works. And then, yeah, you can use that to, like... And yeah, you're nicely behind a wall. They're going to be taking damage, right, off of you. right?
Okay, so I deal damage to the whole party based on the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if any one of them attacks, you get to punish
Yeah.
it, right?
Okay.
And then
this is this is duo as hell.
yeah. 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 This is your go in turn, right? Yeah. So Ecilla clarifies that duo is very good with direct damage cards, but they're like debuff cards and things, right? They won't get duo, right? So you want to stack your deck more in that direction if you want to synergize around duo.
All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna hack dummy here. Ooh, 12 and 9.
Well, you can choose to throw some of that damage back at them.
So I'm thinking we do one of these. We now have 9 barrier, and then we're gonna take care of this guy. So we're gonna block 9 and deal. I'm gonna assume it rounds down to 4. Oh, it just didn't do it. Okay.
Wait, what? It should have reflected it. Ecilla, is Echo Flux working properly? Oh, so no barrier equals no echo.
Okay.
You want to have more barrier than what is there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So yeah, so you got some attacks coming. What do you want to do about it?
Well, right off the bat, so I can take out half of this guy's health, and then bite, fuse, barrier, and that'll help me survive. Yeah, I think I do want to bite instead of dummy.
Yeah, because bite feeds into your game plan, right?
Yeah. And I am surviving with some barrier. Okay, excellent.
Right, and then yeah, and then
I didn't do the
boom.
math, so I didn't know for sure that I would survive that. Yeah, I'm gonna bite twice and then hack because he's gonna survive. But he's going down next turn.
Yeah, so nobody's attacking, so there's no point doing the Echo Flux.
Yeah. And then I can take this guy down next turn as well. He's gonna give me a card I don't want. But I can... Well, I'm not gonna take him down this turn. I'll just...
Oh, gotta get rid of those dummies.
That's true. Now this turn I'm getting rid of him. I really like the way they like open up when they're about to attack. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get rid of a dummy to get duo, and then we'll save you for
Set
next
up for
turn.
when.
Yeah.
Yeah, save up for like when they go in for the attack. Which may as well be now.
Yeah,
You got
I
three
was gonna
hacks in
say
hand.
I'm tempted to do it now because 3 hacks.
Yeah. It's not the most efficient, right? But I think you'll still get a lot out of it.
Yeah. This guy's gone. This guy's at slightly more than half. If I get 3 attacks, I can take him out this turn. Now, I only got 1. No, I got 2. Yeah, I only needed 2.
Nicely done.
All right, one more level. So if we go down at level 3, do we lose the progress gained from the first 2 levels?
No, no, no. That's one of the big reasons why I recommended splitting them up, right? Is
Okay.
that unlike a roguelike, right? Like you'll only have to repeat easy 3, right?
Got it.
If you're to
That
do
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah. Oh, you got some damage coming your way. Maybe
Yeah.
throw it back at them. There's 3 enemies.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. PV set is all about having the enemies do your work for you. I don't know if this made it into this build, but I remember recommending like a card that converts the enemy intent into an attack, right? And that way you can force the enemy to attack you, right, in order to trigger Echo Flux. Right?
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I got 9 plus.
Yeah. Just make sure you're nicely shielded up, and
I think I'm not gonna. Yeah, no, my barrier
no,
was
yeah,
lost.
they were able to break it.
Alas.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, you'll definitely survive this turn.
Okay. Well.
I mean, hey, so there's a trick you can do here potentially. Okay, so no, that'll give you a ramp, right? That's not exactly what you need.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can fuse once, right? But don't use up that card, right? So go ahead and use fuse, and then bite,
Yeah, and then fuse.
and
again.
then you can fuse and yeah, fuse again to get that. Right? It won't. They'll deal more damage, right, than is necessary. So I think. Yeah,
You were going to suggest that I save it?
Yeah. Because next turn you would definitely be able to get the trigger off it.
That
right?
makes sense.
But what this ensures is that you're using your bites in such a way that you're converting them to cards, right? So here, one hack will take that one out, for sure. Right?
And then I'm just gonna
and then you can. Yeah, and then the defense is still in your hand, so if any one of them opens up, you can defense down them, right, and then hack, right, and take them out.
Okay.
Yeah, you can bite fuse, right, and it should be enough this time, right? Because how much will that? Will that be 11 block? And you're up against what, 15?
No, it's gonna be 16 blocks, so it's gonna be the same as last time.
Oh, okay. There.
I think I'm going to. Well, this is still
I
going to
think
be.
Just go for like a regular, like the bite.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, this.
You have enough
one
stability, right? Yeah. So long as it doesn't hit 0, right? You're not being you won't get kicked out.
Yeah. Yeah, this encounter is I think this is like the ideal difficulty for easy 3. I think that makes sense. Also, somebody tell me why my cursor is 2 arrows.
Yeah, why? Yeah, why is it trying to drag something out?
My computer really do be like that.
Oh, so this would be a good dummy and get a duo so that you'll be able to very quickly finish it off next turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I get my attack cards in. Yeah,
which you do. So yeah, duo and hack away at it.
I really like the way the card, like the way the ×2 appears.
Yeah. Well, while we test on more balancing, because you went out of the window, get out of the window and go back again.
So I go out of the window and my mouse like gets fixed, and then I go back in and it gets broken again.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
well,
my
I mean,
computer
it's not-
does this sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes it do be like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, 3 hacks, right? I think
That's
you
true.
can, you
Yeah,
can,
I
you
really
can
can't
get more
complain about that.
early damage in. Since you're up against diamonds, right? The sort of block kind of strategy will be less effective, right? Because they care about shuffling debuffs into your thing. They will
Yeah.
still attack you, right? But like it's less frequent. Right? So yeah, maybe you're looking to build up to the duo, right, and get some damage through.
Yep. I'll get rid of this right away. And then oh, he's gonna attack, is he? Also, this song is really doing it for me, I think.
Yeah, there's some pretty good track selections.
I'll bite, so to speak. Your life ends 1 turn from now.
Yeah, as you just go ahead.
All right, last wave. Oh boy.
Hey.
Oh no. Let's get rid of the ads first, I think. Six damage. Okay, that's fine. So he'll be down. He'll be down in 1 attack. Yeah, all 3 of you attack me. I think that's probably fine. I just need 20 defense.
Which you can get pretty close to, if you take one of them out.
Yeah. So I got 12. I'll take 8 damage. That's no big deal. No, my utility points. I don't know what they're for, but I want them. I like it when the bar goes up.
Yeah, I mean, like it. Yeah, there'll be a power that that unlocks after this one.
So I think I do want one of these around.
Yeah, around the boss, right?
Yeah. And then yeah, and then I think we're just hacking the other 2. Yeah, so I can make this just 11 damage. And then I can block, so I only take 5. Emotionally, I'm at peace. 78 stability. It's fine. Yeah, this is... So you're gonna do 2 things. Oh, no, wait, you're blocking and then you're gonna... Yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah, so they have a little bit. So on enemies, block retains, right? Whereas for you, so it clears each turn. That's a little bit asymmetric, right? But like enemies are sort of designed a little bit.
Yeah,
around that.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
So
So it's dealing some damage. I think get your hacks in, right?
yeah, I'll block 12, so I only take 2. I can handle 2 damage. Okay.
I think so they're not attacking yet, so maybe save that.
Yeah, I'm
for when
definitely
they- when they
saving
go
it.
in.
But I think it will be useful for their next attack.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because
And you drew the bytes as well.
exactly.
You can do a yeah, like I was gonna suggest like you could fuse like another one, right? Like in I don't think the effect like trigger twice, right? But that is an
Maybe
option.
not, but it is fun.
Yeah.
And then I've got 24, so I can hack.
Yeah. And they'll try to hit you. You still have that, and then boom, right back at them.
I think it did stack because they took 24 damage.
Damn. Oh,
Echo
Flux
Flux stacks
apparently.
confirmed.
Yeah. It stacks. Ecilla losing it in chat. So what happened there was like a critical happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this the BB suite is like you can sort of set it up to like maximize right on criticals happening and also critical damage right being the thing that increases. Just set up enough barrier.
We'd
Yeah,
love to
they
see
only
it.
deal 14, right?
Yep. Boom.
Down to 1. Aha, you get Echo Fluxed anyway. Styling on this boss.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm at 2/3 health, which is less than I like to be, but more than I'd expect. Oh. All right. Well,
Throw it back at them.
yeah, honestly, they're going to go down by their own hand.
Yeah.
Deal 7 damage to yourself, which is exactly 1 more than lethal.
Boom. Right, and when you clear like a difficulty, right, you get a lot of things, right? Like kind of a lot. Yeah. So yeah, Celine builds a little bit of personality. You get a couple more unlocks. Though the last thing I do want to show is if you jump into debug, right, and go into normal, you will see that you have a new ability. Normal 2 is this was a bug. It's not supposed to be unlocked.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah. So if you jump in, right, you will see that. Oh wait, yeah, okay, all right. So you'll see next to your end turn, there's a new button. Yeah. So these are sort of like abilities that count on that utility point gauge, right, kind of going up and going down.
So I have one criticism of this game so far, which is that keywords which are italicized are often less legible. Which I think is especially a problem because of the like computer theming, like making words I think less intuitive to figure out. Like RCOV, which is what I'm assuming like this is like recovery cards. That makes sense to me, but because it's italicized in the pixel font, it's a little bit hard to suss out, which combined with the fact that it's not like a traditional word, I think can reduce a lot of legibility. I'm not sure necessarily what the solution to that is, but I noticed it particularly with fuse card descriptions where I'll be like, I'm not sure I understand what it is that I'm going to be drawing because it's italicized words that are hard to read. And at this point I just associate it with the amount of bytes that I have, which is fine. But it contributed to the learning curve, I think. Try full screening. Oh. F4 is full screen in RPG Maker, right? Yes. Okay.
Yes. All right. Is it?
Oh,
a little bit better?
That's a lot better, actually.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it might be that this needs to deploy in full screen, kind of by default, to ensure that like that compression doesn't happen.
Yeah, there are like pixels that are rendering at like half size. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we are coming up on sort of time. Unless Isaiah, you would like to keep playing, which is perfectly perfectly fine.
I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
I am running low on stream energy.
That's what I figured, right?
Yeah, you may have noticed my commentary being fairly minimal after the point at which I ran out of Bytecoins for gambling.
Yeah. So let's sort of give a thought. What you think?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. There's a learning curve inherent to all card games, but I think a lot of these mechanics sort of teach themselves. I think stressing the importance of like bytes and the way that, like, you know, what card you get when you play Fuse is going to be different. I think when it comes to tutorializing that's going to be like the biggest thing to focus on. The one thing aside from the legibility that I will say is it's not clear how many cards I have left to play. So I'm like keeping an internal count in my head, but especially when learning the game, it's not clear. Especially if some cards are free and some cards are not free. It's not clear which cards are and which cards aren't. So that's some UX that could be improved. But I am really enjoying the combat. Feels like really like polished, like polished.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
really
know
tight.
I know Neil had a hand in that because that's like his.
No. This is 100% all Ecilla.
Okay,
right?
okay.
In fact, I'm probably the cause of like the one thing that didn't work for the demo, because I tweaked the economy to be kinder. Which I know sounds ironic, right? But you spent the initial Bytecoin set, which I didn't account for because I forgot that gambling was a thing in the game, right?
Yeah,
and that completely screwed you out of it. You should have also been able to sell components that like refuels the econ, but because you weren't able to sell, you were like completely locked out of the crafting and progression systems, right? Which like I think is definitely a place where this game can improve, but it's because it's also like a really fascinating part of the game.
Yeah.
Because I love the way that slotting in these different parts, right, into the robot, right, gives you different sets of cards, right, and like you have to like mix and match, right, kind of between them to kind of optimize, right, for what you need to deal with the next challenge.
I do really like the I think this is an excellent use of like what your equipment is determines like what your card loadout is. Like I really like that as an approach to like the deck editor like UX that makes sense within the context of the theme, like sort of helps sell the experience. I also just like really enjoy like, hey, here's a card that depending on how many resources you have will generate a different card, and your equipment determines what that is. And the set bonus component, like that's very cool. I will with regards to the gambling, I will encourage you to hide the Plinko machine behind clearing like Easy 3 or something like
Easy 3 100%. I think that recommendation because it should be there, right? Because but it should be there once you're flush, right? With resources, right? That you're like, I'm okay spending that, and if I lose one, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, we can't control for the player continuously gambling away all their money, right?
Yeah.
But there should be ways to go back in, right? Because gambling in like game economies, right? It's a sink, right? Because it's house favored, right? Which means that players are spending money to be able to get more money, sort of out of the system, but they end up losing more than they get, right? So it's there's a really good Game Maker's Toolkit video on game economies that describes these as like taps and sinks, right, and converters, right? So I think that it should be available like after you play a bit.
I would hide it from the desktop until you unlock it, because obviously like I see the word game and I get locked in, but especially like. And I think a lot of players will probably like do something similar, but especially because I hadn't played the game yet, I hadn't even opened the shop yet, so I did not know the value of one unit of currency. So I was like, is 3,000 a lot or is 3,000 a small amount? I'm going to gamble it and just sort of see what happens. And now I know 3,000 is a lot for where I am in the game. And I think, honestly, you shouldn't trust me to be able to spend that much money before getting into gameplay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
exactly.
I really like this. Mechanically, it's doing some really cool things. Narratively, obviously, it's doing some very cool things as well. We got the save for work
really
version.
liked you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I would have really liked you to see the lust mechanic. So that hasn't come up yet because that sort of activates, I believe, around 21 personality, right?
Yeah.
Celine, the robot, wakes up, right? And starts giving responses, right, to like the different things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a new card that is introduced called LoveLace. Hence the name of the game.
Yeah.
Right, that allows you to like bring up the lust gauge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's a timed input minigame that Ecilla managed to implement through a card, right? So like playing a card creates like a little time action mini game, and then depending on how that resolves, right, like you get lust, right, and like lust has its own like risk and reward component because like while you're raising it, right, like Celine is taking stability damage, right, but once you get it all the way up, right, and there's a climax effect, right, that's a huge like game shaking kind of thing, right, that you can do, right, once per battle. And it's neat, right? Like there's a lot of like cool little interlocking things happening here.
Ecilla is instructing me to raise game variable 3 to 21.
Sure. Okay, so I think hit F5, right, and then raise that variable and jump into like easy ones battle.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing you'll notice, right, is that Celine starts out, right, like depowered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and as she like slowly like the personality stat kind of improves, right, will go up. So go ahead and like bump up that a little bit.
Yeah. Game variables dot set value, and we're looking at 321 or maybe 2. Okay.
Apparently 2. Hey, we did it. Yeah.
All right.
And then jump into a battle. Yeah.
Oh, and I gotta close the console or it's gonna slow down. Yeah. So I forgot to save. My bad.
No, it's okay. Yeah. It's mostly so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now she's
up, right, and then. Yeah, and then as you do different things, like for example, if you like stack barriers, right? She has responsive dialogue, kind of do that. She gives you warnings, right, if like she ends up taking too much damage, right? Yeah, it's a neat way of like using like feedback, right? And it's also like this character that you're like slowly developing, right, over the course of the game.
Okay.
You can also like I believe let it be idle for a bit, right, and then she'll speak. Yeah. Right now, I believe Ecilla just has like a number of meme lines in there. Yeah. For example, try. I think if you just like do like multiple bites in a row, I think that is a trigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stacking barriers. Yeah.
Very cute.
And yeah, like. Yeah, so different things will do that, and also as her personality increases, the complexity of what she's saying also will increase.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Get out of here. LoveLace should be in there, but the deck is. Oh, here we go.
It's there. Yeah.
If skill check is successful.
Okay, so go ahead and use that, and get ready to click. Yeah.
Oh.
No, you need to click.
I only
okay,
clicked
it's okay.
once.
No, you gotta click multiple times.
I forgot.
Because it's like a little WarioWare game.
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get him next time.
Yeah.
I can't have more than 6. Yeah. I'll just end my turn.
Though I think that could be like a cool thing, like one of the core units does, right? Is increase your maximum. Click like that, yeah, and it goes up. Oh,
that's
okay.
I'm bad at it. That's okay. We'll get him next time for real this time.
Yeah. Go ahead and generate like a duo.
Oh yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah. And that way, like you bank away those 5 bytes. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do like before the timer starts. You've got like okay, get ready, tap, and then the timer starts. All right, I'm gonna move my mic over so that I can tap with my good hand. There we go.
Hey, and you got it perfect, right? Which means you get 2 bytes instead of just the 1.
Excellent.
And then now your loss increases, right? Those are not pandas in the full game. I should mention.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it again. I'm moving the mic again. I don't know why I moved it back.
Go.
Good enough. Good
you
enough.
did it. Yeah.
I don't think the panda should cry on a grate.
That's true. The panda does have like a happy one. Okay, so you got the defense down, and yeah. So once you have LoveLace, right, like your like byte economy just sort of explodes. Right?
Yeah.
It also doesn't cost you an action to use it, right? But it opens up the sort of high risk strategy because if you don't put up barriers, right, you will start taking stability damage, right, kind of from. Right? So now that you're putting up 6, right, you will notice at the start of your turn, you're gonna take some damage. See 6 damage, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going in again. I gotta get it perfect. I was so close.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we can see if you can get it to 100. Right?
Oh, and she does the heart when you win. When you've got personality. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I'm determined to. Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, you want to set the variable to 90 and then...
No. I've got an auto clicker. I'm gonna... I gotta change
we're cheating left and right. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't use F6 because it'll stop the recording. So I'll just keep this. No, I don't want to cover her face.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Here, let's full screen it.
Right. And then the next time that shows up, right, you're gonna bash the auto.
Absolutely. And then I'll pick location. It'll be the center. And let's dummy it up. A wave is good. I'll always have your back, no matter what. I caught it. I'll put it.
She's good like that.
Are you gonna attack me, huh? What if I? Oh, I still don't have it.
You gotta swap out these dummies. They're holding you back.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Man, I am not sick of this song. Here we go. It's LoveLace time.
All right, it's time. Let's go.
Wow. Oh no, I can't
Damn.
stop it without stopping the recording.
No.
I didn't think this through.
All right.
Oh no.
Do you want to call it?
No.
This is what you get for cheating.
Come on.
All right.
There we go. I
late.
got it. I
It's
got
late.
it.
All right. All right. Okay, we did it.
Yeah, I think we probably should call it here. But yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
I love
Too slow. Yeah.
the personality, like, a part of me wishes the personality like bit came in sooner, like the flavor text stuff. But I have to imagine you're going for something very deliberate, and I've only just seen the beginning.
Yeah.
But I really like the way, like, okay, I'm familiar with the way the game works now, like I understand the mechanics, and then like I start a new like battle, and because the personality's high enough, now there's this extra layer of interaction that I didn't previously have. That really adds to the experience, and I like the narrative moment of reaching that point, like after I'm already sort of mechanically comfortable. So I think that's really cool, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Cool. Yeah. I think on my plate, obviously, so I'll be submitting notes because we definitely need to tune that economy a little bit more. Right, just to account for gambling. That is definitely a thing that we have to do. So one recommendation I would have. So I really like where the button placements are for the utility powers. I think that's really cool. But one massive like UX thing that we can improve on is that what if the end turn button is directly under the hand? Right, like a little bit away, right? But it's in that section like under the hand, right? So do you see that like area like next to confirm and cancel, right? Like
Yeah,
slightly
like this,
kind of below
this
there.
area.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what that does, right, is that it makes it such that like the players' like base actions, right, are in a very small space. They're not having to drag their hand across the screen like kind of every time. And it also makes it such that the utility powers, right, are their own thing, right, which you use like once in a while, right? So I think like having that button in like a more sort of opportune place, right, would be just a way to like speed up gameplay, right, and be kind of nicer on the player.
Yeah.
That's at least my feeling. Could be different, right, like in practice, right? But I think that'll help out a lot.
Ecilla, how do you feel about, I'm going back to the casino again, I apologize. How do you feel about making the, like, playing the casino cost a currency that isn't money? Like, you know, it's very common for a lot of games to be like, okay, you earn tokens for playing the game, whether you do well or not. Like at the end of a battle, you get like tokens, and then you can spend those tokens at the gambling thing to sort of like separate that into a sort of separate economy, so they can't spend all of their resources on it. Neil, do you have any thoughts on that suggestion?
I think that's a great idea, because what that does is it one curtails the total amount of gambling, so they can't really screw themselves over.
Mm-hmm.
It also is a separate currency used to engage in that system. So what that effectively means is that you have to spend that separate currency, and it converts into liquid, like Bitcoins,
Yeah.
right? Kind of as a result. So you can even set it up such that the gambling is net positive each time. So that way, like, engaging in it is a way to get more resources in your pool, and it's just a matter of like whether you got a low amount of resources or a high amount of resources. That is the question that the gambling sort of answers, right? Unlike real gambling, you don't lose resources, right, if you do it that way. Yeah, so Scylla mentions that's an idea, we can do that. The reason why I did Bitcoins is because it's already on the main HUD, and if you refresh the game, it's always there. Mm-hmm. That's a good reason, right, as well, I feel. Another thing that I think could help out a lot is when you're like in the crafting screen, it would be nice to know sort of your material totals, right? Mm-hmm. Because one of the big issues kind of being created now is that the shop and the crafting screen are two separate screens, which means when the player moves between them, they kind of forget what they were going for.
Yeah, my
so anyway that we can
is not great, which causes a problem, particularly for me.
Now, one way that we can do that is the components, they could, in their description, just have like used in, right? This, and this, right? And you're like, oh yeah, no, like I want to build that, right? So I know in the shop that if I buy this, it's building it towards a thing, right? That way you can still have it on two separate screens, right? And the player still has the information that they need on both screens to go between them. Okay. All right. So I think we're coming to the close of the screen. Ecilla, I mean, shoot that my way. I may be able. I may be able to help out. Right. I really want this to succeed. I think this is great. I'm really impressed. Right. This was a 1-month game jam project that Ecilla put right. And if you've seen Ecilla's like posts on dev progress, right, it like consistently blows us out of the water. Right? Right. So thank you so much for for putting this together and showing this, right? And yeah, I think tightening this up, right, and letting a public release happen would be like the best way, to get this really cool game out to a lot of folks. Okay. Yeah, so it started as a 1 month, right? It turned into, what is it, 3 months now?
Just a little side project.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Isaiah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went a little bit longer than we usually do, but hopefully, Isaiah, you had fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing it.
All right. That's gonna do it. Thank you everybody for joining, and I hope to see you next time.
Take care, everyone.